Good day to everyone. My name is Shaina Indalos, and today I'll be discussing all about peace and terrorism. But before we proceed to our discussion, let me introduce to you the objectives. So at the end of this topic or lesson, you should be able to address the root causes of conflict, including political instability, economic inequality, and ethnic tensions through dialogue, governance reforms, and socio-economic programs. Second, strengthen the implementation of the Bangsamoro Organic Law to ensure self-governance, equitable resource distribution, and the religious identities in the region. Third is prevent the spread of terrorism by addressing radicalization, supporting peace agreements, and investing in security measures and community-based initiatives to rehabilitate former combatants. What is peace and terrorism? Peace and terrorism are opposing forces in society. Peace represents harmony, stability, and coexistence are maintained through diplomacy, justice, and respect human rights. While terrorism is often driven by violence, fear, and conflict that causing destruction and loss of life, there are different levels of peace. First is the personal peace, refers to a state of inner tranquility and emotional balance. It involves mental well-being, freedom from stress, and ability to handle conflicts calmly. It can achieve through mindfulness, meditation, self-reflection, and emotional intelligence. Second is social peace. It involves equality in justice, addressing social injustices, and ensuring fair treatment, respect for diversity, embracing differences in culture and ideology, having fair laws and governance to prevent crime and disorder. Last is international peace. It resolving disputes diplomatically, including international cooperation, countries working together to address global challenge, diplomacy in negotiations like peace talks and agreements between nations like global organization like United Nations and peacekeeping missions. Now let's proceed to basic issues affecting peace. First is political instability. It refers to a situation where a government or political system experiences frequent changes, uncertainty, or conflict, leading to social and economic disruptions, or it can result from weak governance, corruption, lack of public trust, or violent power struggles. Second is economic inequality and poverty. When we say economic inequality, it refers to unequal distribution of wealth, income, and resources among individuals or groups within a society. It often leads to social and economic disadvantages for lower income groups, making it difficult for them to access opportunities for a better life. When we say poverty, it is the condition of not having enough financial resources to meet basic needs such as food, shelter, and healthcare. It is one of the biggest challenges to global peace and security. It leads people to join extremist groups in search for financial security, or it can lead them to do violence against law like kidnapping for a ransom, snatching, robbery, and crime, and so on. The third one is the religious and ethnic tensions arise when different religious and ethnic groups struggle for recognition, political power, resources, or cultural acceptance. These tensions can lead to discrimination, violence, and even prolonged conflicts, threatening peace and stability in societies and nations. Lastly is corruption in weak justice system. A major obstacle to peace and stability when government officials misuse public funds and manipulate legal processes. Trust in institutions erodes, leading to unrest and violence. Before we proceed to our next topic, let's have our knowledge check. Now let's proceed to MILF and the MNLF. First is Moro Islamic Liberation Front, a political and armed group in the Philippines that was formed in 1981. As a breakaway faction of the MNLF, the MILF was established by Salamat Hashim, who disagreed with the MNLF's decision to negotiate autonomy instead of full independence for the Moro people. Key facts about Moro Islamic Liberation Front. MILF main objective is initially sought for full independence for the Bangsamoro people, but later pursue autonomy through negotiations with the Philippine government. They engage in battles with Philippine military for decades, particularly in Mindanao. Peace process. In 2014, the MILF signed a comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro with government that led to the creation of Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or the BARMM, in 2019. Replacing the old Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or the ARMM, the MILF now play a key role in the governance of BARMM, transitioning from an armed group to the political organization. Now the MNLF, or the Moro National Liberation Front, a political and former armed group in the Philippines that was established in 1969 by Narmesaure. It was first major revolutionary group that fought for the independence of the Bangsamoro people in Mindanao, Sulu, and Palawan against the Philippine government. Key facts about MNLF. The main objective of MNLF initially fought for full independence for the Bangsamoro people, but later accepted the autonomy. They engaged in large-scale fighting with the Philippine military in the 1970s. The conflict led to the signing of the Tripoli Agreement in 1976 under Marcos administration, which granted limited autonomy. Peace agreement. In 1996, the MNLF signed a final agreement with the Philippine government, leading to the creation of the ARMM, and some of the MNLF members were integrated into Philippine government and military. Due to the disagreements, the MILF broke away from the MNLF in the 1980s, and the MNLF later split into different factions, some supporting the government, while others continued to push for independence. Let's discuss what are legal documents and peace alternatives. First is the Tripoli Agreement 1976. It was peace agreement signed between the Moro National Liberation Front, or the MNLF, and the Philippine government under former President Ferdinand Marcos. It aimed to grant autonomy to Muslim Mindanao, Sulu, and Palawan, recognizing the distinct cultural and religious identity of the Moro people. Next legal document is the Final Peace Agreement in 1996. It was signed between the MNLF and the Philippine government under President Fidel Ramos. It built upon the Tripoli Agreement, aiming fully integrate the MNLF into mainstream society through political representation in socio-economic programs. The agreement led to the creation of autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao, which replaced the earlier autonomous regions established under Marcos. Lastly is the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro 2014. It was signed between MILF and the Philippine government under President Benigno Aquino III. It was result for years of peace talk and aimed to establish a more effective and inclusive form of autonomy compared to the ARMM. The agreement paved the way for the Bangsamoro Organic Law, which led to the creation of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARMM, in 2019. BARMM replaced ARMM, offering a stronger autonomous government with its own parliamentary system, greater fiscal autonomy in transition period for normalization, including the disarmament of MILM combatants. Later on, we will dig deeper the topic about Bangsamoro Organic Law, but now let's proceed to the peace alternatives. First peace approach is dialogue and negotiation, help addressing historical grievances, misunderstanding, and mistrust, strengthening interfaith and inter-ethnic dialogues that also help foster mutual understanding, cooperation, and long-term peace. Second is disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration. These are programs aim at disarming former combatants, dismantling private armed groups, and helping ex-rebels reintegrate into civilian life for crucial long-term peace. The normalization process under CAB, or Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro, involves MILF fighters transitioning to civilian life, including the decommissioning of their weapons and the provision of socio-economic support. The third one is socio-economic development programs. Poverty and lack of economic opportunities contribute to conflict. Investing in education, livelihood programs, infrastructure, and healthcare can provide Moro communities with better alternatives to armed struggle. The international organization and local NGOs play a key role in providing humanitarian aid and development projects in conflict-affected areas. And the fourth one is local peace initiatives and traditional conflict resolution. Many conflicts in Mindanao are also influenced by Redo or clan feuds. Strengthening traditional justice systems such as those led by leaders and religious leaders can help resolve local disputes without violence. Community-driven peace efforts such as grassroots peace building organizations also contribute to stability. The Bangsamoro Organic Law, officially known as Republic Act No. 11054, was enacted in 2018 to establish the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. It replaced the Autonomous Region to Muslim Mindanao, or ARMM, with more autonomous and empowered political entity. The law was a result of decades of peace and negotiations between Philippine government and Bangsamoro Islamic Liberation Front, or the MILF, to address historical grievances and aspirations for self-governance among the Bangsamoro people. Key features of Bangsamoro Organic Law. First is the greater autonomy. The BARMM enjoys enhanced political and economic autonomy compared to the previous ARMM. The region has its own government, legislature, executive, and judiciary, allowing it to manage its affairs with minimal intervention from the national government. Second is own government structure. The Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao follow a parliamentary democratic system where the chief minister head is the executive branch. The Bangsamoro Parliament is responsible for making laws and policies, and the wali serve as the ceremonial head of the region. The region holds regular elections and has mechanism for representation of different sectors, including indigenous people, women, and youth. Sharia law for Muslims. The BARMM implements Sharia or Islamic law, but it applies only to Muslims. It governs matters such as family law, marriage, and inheritance. Non-Muslim in the region remain under the national legal system. A Sharia court system established within BARMM, coexisting with regular Philippine courts. Some terrorist groups. First is the Abu Sayyaf group, founded in 1991, and the founder is the Abdurrahak Tantalani. Their ideology is Islamic extremism and Judaism. The affiliates Al-Qaeda, or historically ISIS later. They operate kidnapping for ransom, bombings, beheadings. The Abu Sayyaf group, in one of the most notorious terrorist organizations in the Philippines, originally formed as an offshoot of the Moro National Liberation Front, or the MNLF. Abu Sayyaf group initially received funding from Al-Qaeda and sought to establish an independent Islamic state in Mindanao, gained global attention for kidnapping foreign tourists and missionaries in the early 2000s, often demanding ransom, involved in bombings including the 2004 Sulphur Ferry 14 bombing, which killed 116 people, one of the deadliest maritime terrorist attacks. Later pledged allegiance to ISIS, aligning itself with the global jihadist movement. Several Abu Sayyaf group leaders have been killed in the Philippine military operations, but the group remains active particularly in Sulu and Basilan. Next is the Maoti group. founded in 2012, founders Abdullah and Omar Maute. Their ideology is Islamic extremism, ISIS-inspired Judaism. They operates urban warfare, bombings, attacks on military forces. The Maute group gained notoriety in 2017 when it led the Marawi siege, a 5-month battle between militants and government forces that left much of the city in ruins. The group pledged allegiance to ISIS and attempted to establish a wilaya, ISIS province, in the Philippines, launched terror attacks and bombings in Lanao del Sur and neighboring areas. Key leaders were killed during the Marawi conflict, significantly weakening the group. Remnants of the Maute group continue to operate in the Mindanao, but their influence has diminished. The third is the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, founded in 2010. Their founder is si Amirel Umbra Katu. Their ideology is Islamic extremism, Judaism also. Affiliation: some factions align with ISIS. They operate armed insurgency, bombings, attacks on military forces. The Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters is a splinter group of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front that rejected the peace process with the Philippine government, seek to establish an independent Islamic state rather than accept autonomy under the Bangsamoro Organic Law. They conduct bombings and ambushes against Philippine security forces. Some BIFF factions have declared allegiance to ISIS, but the group remains divided, primarily active in Maguindanao and nearby areas. Government response to terrorism. The Philippine government, in coordination with international allies such as the United States and Australia, has launched counter-terrorism operations to neutralize these groups. Strategies include military offensives. Examples are the operations in Sulu, Basilan, and Marawi. Counter-radicalization programs to prevent extremist recruitment. Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, strengthening legal measures against terrorism. Despite major setbacks, remnants of these groups continue to operate, particularly in Mindanao, posing ongoing security challenge.